Hello and welcome. If this is your first time visiting, please be sure to check out my other repair videos. To support the channel for free, all you have to do is subscribe, comment, and like. Now let's get on to today's video. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you visiting with me today. I've got a couple different things I'm going to go over, couple of updates, little odds and ends between my two project cars that I seem to continually be working on. But the main thing is the red car has had a problem with the key, the ignition key, for a while. There's nothing wrong with the actual ignition itself, because the key performs poorly in all the locks of the car also. So it's just the key is old and it needs to be replaced. So unfortunately, with replacing your own keys, you have to go to the dealership. In a lot of cases, you have to have a locksmith that has the tools to cut the key and then program the car computer to accept the new transponder in the back of the key, the anti-theft that shows that just that key for that car. So what I did is I got on the interwebs and started researching the best scan tool that I could get for the money that had that capability, and I'll show you what I came up with right here. All right, this is the product I went with, is the Autel. This particular model that I got is the MaxiCOM 808, and for the price, this thing does just about everything that your $2,000 Autels are doing. Get it out of here. Basically what it is, it's an Android tablet that has a connection on the back that can plug into your OBD2 plug on the car, and then it has all the software installed from all the different manufacturers and everything to do tests that are specific to their brands. For what I paid for this, I could not be happier. This is one of the coolest things I've bought in a long time. I'll put a link up in the description for Amazon where I got this, and you can check it out for yourself and see if you would be willing to spend the money on that or not. So this is going to be my new favorite toy. Ready to start getting really serious about diagnostics, and this is going to be my first baby steps into that water. All right, again, the video today is going to be mainly about programming the key, but I have a couple of different things I'm going to show you also. I'll put the timestamp right here for when the key programming starts if you came just for that. Let's get on and show you a couple other things I've got. All right guys, I'll give you a quick update on the green car. I mentioned a couple videos ago about that I was going to take this car to Florida. There was one of my videos where I went on and on about how great the 93 Honda Civic was once you had it all running good on gas mileage and dependability and all that. And then I decided, you know what, I have this trip coming up. It was either rent a car or fly, and I decided, you know what, I trust this car. I'm going to drive the 650 miles there and 650 miles back. My girlfriend was a real trooper about it. She agreed to the test, and lo and behold, we get on the interstate 5 minutes from our house, and the radiator hose blew. It blew clean off of the engine right here where it goes into the water neck. Fortunately for me, when it went, I mean, it was very dramatic. Lots of noise, lots of water flying everywhere. It was 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and it was 25 degrees, and we were on the interstate. Got the car pulled over and shut off, got out, inspected everything, was thinking about getting it towed, and I thought, you know what, it's 25 degrees, let me try to lift this thing down the road to what was fortunately less than 5 minutes away, the largest Napa warehouse in the Southeast, and it opened up at 8 o'clock. So this blew right when that place opened. So I limped it down there, went in, they had a new radiator hose, bought a gallon of antifreeze, topped everything off, headed to Florida. This is the hose that came off, and this is when I did the inspection on the engine. I probably should have inspected the hose too. It just, I mean, completely just ripped right off the end of it, left the clamp and everything on. So that had it. I don't know how old that hose was, but that was the end of that one. So there you have it. After I got the car back underway, we drove that thing 650 miles to Florida. I stayed there almost a week. Drove the car around down there, not too much. We were close to everything, a lot of walking distance, but drove the car back. I had a rainstorm, everything. The car performed flawlessly after the torn radiator hose. So, worked out, money where my mouth was, the green car succeeded. Let's move on. All right, the first thing I'm going to show you is some work I've been doing on the red car. This is really nothing that's specific to this. I just thought it was kind of neat to show you this old car. It's got some modern updates to it. I have this doubled-in computer GPS Chinese thing I bought from Amazon a couple years ago. Less than 300 bucks. It works really well for what it is. And one of the things it came with it was a backup camera, which I've never had on any of my older cars, and I thought, well, it'd be kind of neat to have that, but I never bothered to hook it up. So recently I decided, you know, getting things going with this, let's see what we can do. So I've got that camera hooked up now. Have it set up so that when you put the car in reverse, the camera comes on. I don't know how well that's going to show up on video, but there you have it. I'll go back to the trunk and I'll show you how I did that exactly. All right, here we go. The first thing I'll show you is that here's the camera. That's about the best place I could find for it, and I used double-sided 3M tape to put that on. I didn't bolt it on, and it's on there really well. I wished it was aimed a little bit different, but for what it is, it works really well. And how I wired that up, there's just one single RCA cable that comes to the back that also has a power thing on it that actually detects 12 volts of voltage. And let me see if I can get this pulled back and show you. Right here, believe it or not, Honda provides a pigtail for towing. So all I had to do was find the reverse light on this, just cut it off, because I'm never going to tow with this car. So I just cut it off, and I put my signal, because once that radio sees 12 volts at that wire, it turns on the backup camera feature. So as soon as my reverse lights come on, ta-da, then you have your backup camera. When I had the interior pulled out, when I did the dashboard, I decided I'd go ahead and run that cable. It's been a long time coming, and I'm actually pretty happy with it. It's got, if you look at this, it has infrared lights, and it has a sensor here, so when it's dark, the infrared lights comes on, it switches to RO mode. It's not the best quality in the world, but it does work enough so that way you can see if there's any obstacles behind you, you get to backing up. Well, let's move on to the rest of the day's video. All right, so we're sitting in the driver's seat here. We've got the new Autel hooked up. This is to check this code that I'm pretty sure I already know what it is. It's been popping up, but I'm just going to show you the procedure with my new tool here. Go into the vehicle diagnostics. So we've got all the glare off the screen there for you. Go to the check engine light, and we're going to go for an auto scan of that. All right, now once this screen comes up, I just want to go, it has all these different things I can do with the car, but all I'm going to just go after is just the error that's stored in the ECU. Check right here. And here we have P1259, which is a VTEC solenoid failure, which is what my other scan tool calls it. And I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. And there we go. We should have no codes left in the system now. And we're just going to exit all the way out of that test. There you have it. That's how this new tool will read my codes. My light is now reset. But now I have to fix that, and I have a good idea what that is. Or I have two ideas of what that might be. I'll show you those in just a second. All right, the first thing I'm going to go after for the VTEC solenoid is what I suspect could be a problem with it, is the oil pressure sending unit on the back of the engine. It's kind of hard to get to, so we're going to have to crawl up underneath it today. What happened was, prior to me doing the engine rebuild on this, I did not have an issue with my VTEC solenoid or anything like that. Since the very first crank on this car, that 1259 code is being thrown sporadically. It's getting to be kind of a pain in the butt. But what happened was when I was putting the engine back in the car, the connector on the end of the wiring harness that plugs on the back of the oil sending unit was ripped off. Somehow during all the removal of the engine, the car sitting or whatever, that thing just got destroyed. So what I did is I went back and I kind of jury-rigged something. I'm going to try to fix it better today. I think it's just a little bit loose on the back of that. I'm going to tighten that up. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, first things first, I have the front of the car jacked up about as high as I can get it. And I, of course, am using jack stands. Never, ever, please, people, get up underneath your car without jack stands. I hate even doing it with a jack stand. Hopefully one day I'm going to have a situation where I have a lift and don't have to deal with this anymore. But I cannot think of a more horrible way to die than get crushed by your own car. So I'm going to crawl up under this thing with my light, the camera, and I'm going to show you where the sensor's at, and I'm going to get that piece of wiring harness pulled off of it. We're going to take a look at it, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to try to do to repair that. All right, I'm going to try to show you the best I can. The oil filter is in the way, and I'm not going to bother taking that off. But you see that red wire that's kind of by itself? That runs to the back of my oil pressure sending switch. And beside that is your NOx sensor. So I'm going to reach up there. I'm going to get that pulled off. I'm going to show you what the condition of my switch is while we're here today. hopefully that's going to light up enough to show you. What I did is I just took a regular connector and I kind of rounded out the back of it to make that work, and then have it just soldered and heat shrinked back onto the where it plugs into the wiring harness here. So that's a good connection. I'm worried about that, but this is what I suspect the problem is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this end off, and I'm going to put a butt connector on the back of that that's round on the top, and it's going to plug on that and fit a little bit better, and hopefully that takes care of, or one of the things that may take care of the problem. Let me get that set up, show you what I got. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to show you today what I'm going to use to make the repair. This is called a bullet splice disconnect pairs. I'll show you the label there for it. And basically what it is, you have a male and a female that click together like this, and then you can put your own wires in them and crimp down on it. Well, the oil pressure sending unit, the end of it looks like that, and it is the same size as this one right here. I've already taken one, I went in there, clicked it over, and it clicks on just fine. So all I'm going to do is go in there and I'm going to splice or cut the old connector off that I jury-rigged on there. Splice the wire, slide this over the end, and use a crimp tool like this to crimp that down. I'm not going to drag all this under the car and show it to you. You get the idea. So let's move along. All right, we got that hooked back up now. Everything is nice and tight. I don't expect that would, if that was the issue, that's going to be the issue any further. The second thing that I'm going to look at today, I'm just going to mention it. I'm not going to go after it just yet. If the 1259 code doesn't come back, I'm not going to bother with this next step. If it does come back, this will be the next step, and that will be removing the VTEC solenoid and cleaning the springs out. Let me show you on the car. All right, guys, looking at the engine bay, we're going to be talking about the VTEC solenoid. This car, it is on the passenger side. This is your valve cover here. Behind the valve cover, bolted to the head, where my finger's pointed, that round thing, that is the top of the VTEC solenoid. It is bolted onto the engine with 3 bolts, and all you do is it has 2 electrical connectors that you disconnect. Take those 3 bolts out, and it pulls right off. Now, on the back of that VTEC solenoid is 3 chambers that allow oil to pass through, and one of those chambers actually has a screen over it. That screen can get clogged up and cause your VTEC to misbehave. Now, I was trying to think of what may have been done different since I rebuilt the engine, since I didn't have VTEC problems before. And one thing that came up was the possibility that the assembly lube that I used has gummed up that screen. I don't know that's what's happened. I wouldn't know unless I took the solenoid off. Since I've got the oil pressure sender switch fixed now, I'm just going to wait and see. If that code comes back, that's going to be our next step. I'll have the video up for that, show you how to pull that off and clean it up. But I'm not going to, it's really hard to get back there with the engine in the car. It's very tight. I've done it before. It's not impossible, but I'm not going to go to the trouble unless I absolutely have to. So we'll see if that happens, and if it does, I'll take you guys along for that ride. Let's move on to the next thing. All right, so today we're going to get into the meat of what this video is going to be about. It's going to be reprogramming keys. This Honda key here is the one that came with the car. It's the only one I've ever had for it. And the problem with it is you put this in the ignition, you have to kind of back it out just a hair to get it to turn, and sometimes you can feel it catching. Same for the door in the trunk. So obviously something's wrong with the key. It's not the ignition switch. Now, I do understand that if you let these keys that aren't working correctly go too long, they will eventually start tearing up your ignition cylinder, or the lock mechanism in the cylinder, as well as your doors and trunk. So I've decided to go ahead and address that problem. So what I did is I got onto eBay and ordered blank Honda keys. They're not very expensive. I think I got 2 of them for 10 bucks. You can see it looks exactly like the old one. Some minor differences in the Honda emblem, that's about it. So what I did is I took the blank to a hardware store that had a really good locksmith that works there. He's highly recommended in my town, and I had him cut the key. So he just cut this key to match the old one, and I'm going to put it in ignition now. You turn it on, we're going to crank the engine over after I push clutch in. Car will not start. It's because these keys have transponders in them that the vehicle has an immobilizer system. If it doesn't recognize the key that's in the ignition, it won't turn your coil pack on. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to reprogram the car's computer to accept my new key. All right, so in order to program that key, I'm going to go into my new Autel here. I'm going to choose the service features, and I'm going to go to immobilizer keys. I'm going to choose my brand, which is a Honda, of course. All right, when we get to this part here on the test, I I can do auto select, but this car will not auto recognize, or the Autel doesn't know, it can't read the VIN out of it. So I'm going to go to system selection. And this is all done with the old key in the ignition and turned on. Go to the USA models. And we're going to go way back here to the 2000. All right, now I'm going to go to the hot function. And it's going to start telling you how to run the test. So it's saying to keep the ignition on until it tells you to turn it off. The tester cannot program keys with a T5 stamped on the blade of the key or with the word ILCO on the plastic head, which this has neither of. So we're going to try this now. Start the test, or the procedure actually. It tells you the type of the immobilizer the system is. Choose special functions. All right, now we can check and see how many keys are in this. I've already done this. It has 3 keys. I only have 1. I think it can hold up to 5, so that's not an issue. Just add 1 more. Or if you're replacing the ECM in this car, it has a function for that too. But we're just going to go with the add and delete keys. Okay, we're going to add. This is multiple keys. I only have 1. Begin to add multiple keys. How many original keys? Just have 1. Enter. Okay. How many new keys? We're just going to add 1. And then okay. Now it's asked us to turn the ignition switch off. Turn the ignition switch to on with the original key, which is still in the ignition. There we go. All right, now looking at the dashboard, I see my immobilizer light is flashing. It's telling me to turn the ignition off within 17 seconds, which we just did. Turn the ignition switch on within 20 seconds with the new key. There it is. My immobilizer light is still blinking fast on the dashboard. Turn the ignition key off. Turn it back on without changing the key. There we go. My immobilizer light is now staying, it's blinking on and off in some kind of fashion. I don't know what it's doing. Is the immobilizer indicator light turned off? Yes, it is. Turn the ignition switch off. Turn it back on. The registration key has been complete. Turn the ignition switch off. So there you have it. Now let's see if the new key will crank the car. Clutch in. There you have it. But I'm hoping that the ability to program the keys is going to be able to pay for this Autel within the next couple of months. I've just saved myself a ton of money. I know a dealership can charge you up to $700 on even these older cars to cut a key and replace it and program it for the car. And I just did it I bought 2 keys on eBay for $10. This is $5. So minus the cost of the Autel, of course, that cost me $5. But that Autel is going to come in handy for tons of other things in the future. All right, guys, that's going to be the end of today's video. I appreciate you guys watching today. It's a little longer than I normally like to do them, but we had a couple of different things to cover. I think that Autel is going to be my new best friend. I'm already ready to plug it in and start driving around looking at my fuel trims and all these other little stupid things that really don't mean anything to anybody other than somebody like me, and hopefully somebody like you too that's interested in that type of thing. Again, I appreciate all the support that I've been getting, all the love I've been getting in my comments here lately. You guys make it worth it, and I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.